Water is the foundation for all life on Earth and the most basic of all needs. Life cannot exist without it, and human biology demands more water than any other land-based creature. In addition to these purely biological requirements, humans use water for industry, recreation, transportation, and energy production. The human animal is unlike any other life form in another critical capacity. We burn things. We burn hydrocarbons, whether in the form of coal, oil, or wood, to create energy. And to create energy, we need fire. As the planet's population increases, our resources diminish. The supply of burnable fuel decreases every day, and drinking water is already a crisis for 1.5 billion people. Human survival depends on the careful management of our two elemental needs, water and fire. The looming crisis is best illustrated here, in the southwest corner of Africa, in one of the oldest and driest places on Earth. Here, the sands of the Namib Desert are swept into the ocean by rivers and wind expanding the skeleton coast. The dry desert air clashes with the cold, wet air from the Arctic, creating a foggy coast where ships routinely run aground, only to be swallowed decades later by the encroaching desert. Namibia gained its independence from South Africa in 1990, and the new nation is eager to further develop their industry, resources, and economy. Despite their enthusiasm and developed infrastructure, much of the population remains poor and struggles with the basic needs of water and energy. It is this scarcity that makes environmental education critical to Namibia's survival.
The reason I wanted to put an environmental education center into the Namib Desert is because of the beauty of the desert. I mean, this is one of the most beautiful places in the whole world. The whole idea behind Nadit really is in order to have people to really critically analyze how do they live, why do they live the way that they do, and how can they change it in order to have a better impact, not only for their environment, but also for themselves.
The Namib Desert Environmental Education Trust is a not-for-profit organization supported by private and corporate donations. This generosity allows Nadit to bring children of low-income families from the cities and into the heart of the Namib Desert.
We have tried to put it as a year in our calendar at the school that every year we have to bring a group of students to Nadit.
70% of all of our schools per year are returning schools.
This success rate is due to Nadit's symbiotic relationship with the Namibian school system. Nadit is an extension of the classroom where students and teachers can see concepts put into practice.
The best way to learn it is when you see it, feel it, do it yourself.
The difference is like I even sleep inside there. It's not like I sleep inside the books.
You need experiential learning, hands-on experience. You can't teach somebody about the desert environment where somebody has not seen a desert before.
We came to see animals that we never see.
My favorite animal is a golden mole. My favorite animal is a oryx. So I like turkeys
and springbok.
The most important part was that this was a real model of sustainable living.
With water-saving, energy-saving features.
All of those things are there to support the activities.
And most of the education centers don't really have that.
Frequently, the very model for sustainable technology is inspired by nature itself.
For example, a tuktuki insect, which is colored black, which it needs in order to get going in the morning. Because in the morning the desert's cold and that insect doesn't want to get eaten, so it has a black color which absorbs the sunlight.
The environment is fixing everything, and that's something that we have to appreciate and learn from.
Learning from the environment may help Namibia solve its most fundamental problem. And this water pipe, stretching 170 miles across the desert, illustrates this problem. This one comes from an ocean desalination plant and supplies the exploding capital city of Windhoek with 1/3 of its drinking water. But in rural Namibia, people must drill boreholes as much as 600 feet down to find water.
We have to maintain these boreholes. We have to see that we don't pump too much water from them.
Attempting any agriculture here puts a tremendous strain on the water supply. Conservation is key.
Namibia is a very dry country anyway, so it shouldn't waste water.
Let them live in a desert where there's a scarcity of water. Let them learn how to conserve water in a desert environment.
Seeing what it's like to live at a center that is sustainable, learning to take a shower with less than 10 liters of water.
Humans burn things to create energy. The extent of this burning can be seen every night as the earth turns its face away from the sun and the earth's surface begins to twinkle within the blackness of space, advertising the presence of a species burning hydrocarbons at a phenomenal rate. All of this light represents something, somewhere, being burned. On a global level, this burning is comprised mostly of oil and coal. On the local level, economically disadvantaged Namibians burn trees for fuel. These trees are not an easily renewable resource. Although the camelthorn trees receive plenty of sunlight, the roots must reach down through at least 230 feet of sand to find water. Most of the tree's growth is downward, so the top grows slowly. Some are 400 years old. And in a matter of hours, this burning tree will release all of its stored hydrocarbons harvested from hundreds of years of sunlight. At Nadit, Namibians learn a better way.
We teach children about solar energy and that we receive light and heat energy from the sun and how we can manipulate those forms of energy in order to use it to use a solar cooker, a solar oven.
They see it works. It's like a click in the head and they say, oh, this is actually cool.
But solar cookers and ovens are only one way to use the sun's energy. With the aid of technology, the sun's power can be employed to solve Namibia's energy crisis.
Because we used to get our electricity from South Africa, and they don't want to supply electricity anymore.
So if we can use alternative forms of energy, like solar, so why don't we use that? We don't need raw materials to use solar energy.
Financially wise, it's much easier. For me, living in a sustainable way, where I use solar electricity, I use a solar cooker to cook, I don't have to pay for anything.
Because if you use solar energy, it's better because the sun is free, you don't buy it, but electricity, you have to buy it, and the amount to pay it, it's even increasing.
The children at Nadit will determine the direction of Namibia's future development. But the future holds many obstacles. Among these are poverty and a generation gap.
The adults of today, they grew up fighting for independence for this country, but they weren't fighting for the environment of the country. So that's something, again, that this generation, unfortunately, actually needs to make the same fight again.
We try to give it to most of our learners so that they can help the parents at home.
And Nadit is very special because it's learning us more how to do things by our own, not to be done by someone and give it to you.
And this is now the fuel efficient stove. You can see some papers.
It is easy to make, so any kid can make it.
Lots of the building was made with recycled wood. It showed Namibians that they can do something without having a lot of money.
We invited the community around the school. We invited also parents of the learners and other schools also. And then we come and explain to them how do the solar cooker work, how do we use the solar oven.
For them, they live in a traditional way. For them, you really have to convince them. You have to give them answers like why, how, when.
They think, well, conservationists say don't develop, but that's not the case. Of course, people and humans need to develop, but can we not develop in a way that's good for the environment instead of bad for the environment? Most people in Namibia are going to see that they want to live a lifestyle similar to the West.
Those people, they're striving to actually use more and more. They want to have a TV, they want to have a big car, and to get them to realize that it's not the right path. And that's the education part, and that's not necessarily a cultural part, I think.
In a sense, Namibia is an ideal place to teach conservation because its people already understand what it means to live with limited resources.
Although they contribute to deforestation by still having fires and so on, they have to carry it for 20 kilometers, so they use it very, very sparingly.
Most people live in a place where they can see a water tank somewhere around their house, or in their village. So they see water, they see energy, they see rubbish.
From my home where I come from, we're basically taught how to look after our surroundings.
Take care of your country and recycle everything, you see.
I see a bright future for Namibia.
There's no reason to have to follow the path of the West only to see that it's not working and go back again. It can cut straight to a much nicer future.
We have the opportunity especially to learn from other people's mistakes. And that's exactly what environmental education is about. It's people understanding what they're doing to the environment and that they are part of it. No matter how industrialized or advanced you are living in New York City, you're still part of nature.
I am part of the environment after all, so let me give something back to the environment.
Perhaps even more difficult than overcoming the technical and financial obstacles is the human resistance to change and the fear our quality of life will suffer.
The sustainable living does not lower your lifestyle at all. I think it actually improves your lifestyle. And I think part of living sustainably is actually just going back to the way that we used to live.
I mean, living in an unsustainable way, it seems very easy, but believe me, it's difficult.
If you live very comfortably, you also get a bit lazy.
There's a saying in my language that goes like this: when you die, you don't go with all your money to the grave, you leave it behind. So try to inform the people, share with people your information, what you have, try to share with the people.
I like to compare it to having to do your homework. It's good to do it. You actually do it for yourself.
Thanks to Nadit, Namibians are already doing their homework. The day may soon come when we, the world, will look to this little outpost of progress and follow their lesson plan.